Europe. Holland. Amsterdam. 15 kilometers from the city center. Schiphol. Sunday, October 4th, 1992, 2:40 p.m. An aircraft enthusiast takes this footage of an Israeli El Al 747 cargo plane arriving from New York. The jumbo will load up and refuel before flying to Tel Aviv in Israel as flight El Al 1862. 3 p.m. Loading begins, supervised by Jerry Plettenberg, El Al's operations officer. Today's cargo includes consumer products, but some boxes are labeled dangerous goods. Jerry has a good idea what's inside. On El Al cargo flights, he's seen a huge range of military hardware.
Apache helicopters, radar equipment, aircraft wings, missiles, jet engines for F-16 and F-15s.
All these weapons supply the Israeli military, which is locked in a 45-year-old conflict with Palestinian militants. The ongoing crisis makes El Al a top target for Arab terrorists. 7 years ago, gunmen opened fire on El Al check-in queues in Rome and Vienna, killing 19 people. The airline stays on permanent alert for more attacks. Armed security guards keep a close watch on all its planes and personnel. And before loading, all freight passes through a pressure chamber to detonate any bombs planted by terrorists. 5:20 p.m. Flight 1862 has passed security checks. Now the crew arrive for their pre-flight inspection. The 747 is 13 years old, but it still has at least 5 years of useful service before retirement. 59-year-old Captain Yitzhak Fuchs is in command. Like many El Al pilots, Fuchs is a combat-hardened veteran of the Israeli Air Force. He's got 25,000 pilot hours under his belt. Flying alongside Fuchs are flight engineer Gedalia Sophia and co-pilot Arnon Ohad, the rookie of the crew. Just 32, he's been flying jumbos for less than a year. Flight 1862's takeoff will be supervised by air traffic controller Henriette Van Openen.
It was wonderful flying weather. You could see to the end of the world.
All the flight paths in and out of Schiphol pass over densely populated areas of Amsterdam. Under one of them lies the Belmer suburb, 13 kilometers to the east. At its heart, the sprawling Groeneveen apartment block. It's home to almost 2,000 people. Among them, Marlene Treidemann, a nurse, and Guillermo, her son. Guillermo will celebrate his 17th birthday in 5 days' time. He's a typical teenager, into pop music and martial arts movies. But today, he's been to church with his mother. The Treudemann's home is on the 5th floor of the Groeneveen block. Marlene and her husband Stanley are originally from Suriname, a former Dutch colony in South America. Graciela, their 14-year-old daughter, is a popular girl who's doing well at school.
Altijd lachen, altijd vrolijk.
Always laughing, always happy. A positive word for everyone.
Positief woord.
6 p.m. On runway 1 at Schiphol, Captain Fuchs powers up the 747's 4 Pratt & Whitney engines.
LL 1862, ready for taxi.
He hands over to his young co-pilot, Arnon Ohad, to give him more flying experience on the 747. 6 minutes after takeoff, El Al 1862 heads east over Amsterdam suburbs.
Good evening, we are now passing 4300.
6:27 p.m. and 30 seconds. The engines are still at full thrust as the jumbo climbs to 6,500 feet. Everything is running like clockwork. The crew settles in for the flight to Tel Aviv. In less than 5 hours, they'll be back on home soil with their families. Suddenly, a terrifying jolt rocks the plane. It starts to lose altitude and rolls violently to the right. Veteran pilot Captain Fuchs grabs the controls.
I've got up.
He battles to stabilize the jumbo. If he fails, the aircraft will spiral out of control.
LL 1862, Mayday, Mayday, we have an emergency.
After 30 seconds, Captain Fuchs manages to wrestle the jumbo back to steady flight.
Check hydraulic pressure.
Flight engineer Sophia desperately scans his control panels to try to find out what's wrong. Seconds later, another crisis. The instruments reveal that both engines on the right wing are out of action. It's a pilot's nightmare. Captain Fuchs must get back to Schiphol for an emergency landing. Fast. He tells co-pilot Ohad he needs the airport's longest runway.
We request 27 for landing.
Air traffic control clears the jumbo for the journey back to Schiphol.
In that case, heading 360 the heading.
Roger.
The 747 must make a descending turn over Amsterdam to reach the correct altitude and line up for runway 27. Its final approach will take it over the Groeneveen apartment complex, where the Treudemann family lives. Marlena and Stanley decide to visit a friend nearby. They tell their children, Guillermo and Graciela, they'll be back soon. (6:33 p.m. and 35 seconds.
Descend to 2,000 feet.
Air traffic controller Henk ter Brakke clears the stricken jumbo to land at runway 27.
Okay, you have around 13 miles to go to touchdown. Speed is all yours.
The 747 is 2 minutes from the Belma suburb. Marlena and Stanley are halfway to their friend's apartment. It's a typical Sunday evening. Many people are at home with their families. At this moment, as Captain Fuchs lifts the nose to slow the jumbo for landing, the roll to the right returns. He jams the rudder further to the left, but now the plane barely responds. Co-pilot Ohad alerts Schiphol.
Controlling problem.
Controlling problem as well.
The news sends a chill through ter Brakke. He immediately contacts his colleague Henriette van Openen.
Henk vatte dat eigenlijk
Hank summed that up to me by intercom and said he is now in deep, deep trouble.
diepe problemen.
90 seconds later, Fuchs still battles to control the roll, but it's getting worse. And now the jumbo is losing height fast. It's just seconds from the Belma suburbs up. At the other end of the Groeneveen block, 31-year-old Andre Bos hears the approaching rumble of jet engines.
You can describe the noise as getting louder all the time, and eventually it starts to roar.
Suddenly, the roll accelerates to an extreme 90-degree angle, and the jumbo spirals towards the Belma.
Raise the flap. Get your gear down.
Going down. Going down. Tank rate. Pull up.
The roar of the jet is now deafening. Andre grabs the phone to call the emergency services.
I looked at the landing gear as it flew straight past my balcony.
Marlena and Stanley reach their friend's apartment. In his 10th floor apartment, 36-year-old bank worker Rinus de Haan is about dinner. A screech from his pet cat brings him to his balcony. He's paralyzed by what he sees. The jumbo is heading straight for his apartment block.
I saw my life go by in a flash from my childhood to that moment. I thought, it's over.
(6:35 p.m. and 42 seconds). LL 1862 smashes into the 6th floor of the 11-story apartment block.